Welcome back to Without Shortcuts. Today we are making chocolate cake.
Now this recipe, as you can see, has got a few more ingredients than what some of our other videos have had to deal with, so you want to make sure all of these ingredients come together correctly and give you the best cake possible. To do that, you got to reach down, give us a quick like on this video, maybe give the channel a subscription. It's just going to help everything be nice and smooth.
Yeah, this recipe does look a little more complicated than some of the things that we've done in the past, but I promise you it is absolutely worth the effort. And once you get into it, you'll see it's really not as complicated as it seems, and it's going to be so much better than anything that you're going to put together that comes out of a box.
Now we want to make sure that we get just a couple of things done right off the bat. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure our oven is preheating. So we're going to preheat that to 350 degrees. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure our pans are ready. To make our pans, we're going to use some non-stick cooking spray. We're going to spray those, and then you want to have a piece of parchment paper that sits right on the bottom. The cooking spray makes sure the parchment paper stays in the pan, and then the parchment paper makes sure that at the end of it, the cake is able to come out nice and smoothly so that it's clean to be decorated. Now for the parchment paper, you're just going to take a piece, you're going to fold it up to the corner, just like that, so that you have a nice square. And then you're going to cut this extra little bit off. This doesn't have to be clean and fancy. All right, and then you're going to fold this again, this way, just like that. All right, now if I take this and I fold it one more time, you just keep track of, you can see all the loose ends are over here and all the pieces come together on this end. So if I take these and I put them so that the middle is in the middle of the pan, and then press them down so that I have a line, that's going to show me exactly how big my pan is. And then I only have to cut this section here. When I open this up, there you go, and voila, right into the pan, just the way we want it, and that'll be ready to go. So we'll do that with our second pan, so that's ready, because this recipe will give us 2 9-inch cakes in the end. All right. So we'll have those ready. The second thing we're going to do is bloom our cocoa. So we're going to take our cocoa, we're going to put it, whoa, we're going to put it all over the counter, just for good measure. And then the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of boiling water. We're actually using a cup of coffee and then 1/2 cup of water, and we've heated those up so that they're boiling. We're going to pour that right into it, and then just whisk those together. Alright, that's mostly dissolved. The reason we want to do this right at the beginning is because that water and the coffee is very hot, and you want those to have time to cool down so that when we add them later, we're not cooking our eggs.
Now that we got Doug's mess cleaned up, while that's all sitting there getting nice and happy, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of our ingredients mixed together. So first go the dry ingredients. Those are all just going to go right into our mixer bowl. No mess.
Amazing.
All right, we'll give those a quick stir. And then we can just dump the rest of our wet ingredients right in here. All right, and then the only other thing we need to put in for now is 3 eggs.
I'm impressed.
All right, that's gonna go onto the mixer here. And then we're just gonna beat that together at about a medium speed for about a minute.
All right, so we've got that all mixed together. It doesn't have to mix very long. You're not creaming butter and sugar together or anything like that. You're just getting everything incorporated. And now we're ready to add our cocoa to that mix.
All right, I'm gonna give that just a quick scrape down the sides of the bowl just to make sure we've got everything mixed together really well. And then just with the mixer on low speed, we're gonna slowly add our cocoa mixture in. Alright, now you don't want to overmix it, so just mix it until it just comes together. And you're going to notice it's a really thin, really loose batter. That's the way it's supposed to be. So it looks like we got everything pretty well mixed. So let's get this into some pans. So we want to go pretty much equal portions as best we can, so a measuring cup works great for that. And we'll just kind of alternate scoops here between our pans until we get them full. All right, there we go.
So these are almost ready to go in the oven. The last thing we're going to do before they go in is we're just going to take them, lift them up just a little bit, kind of tap them down on the counter. And the reason we're doing that is just to make sure we get any big air bubbles that might be trapped in there out. Because when you put them in the oven, if there's an air bubble in there, that air heats up, it expands, you end up with big holes in the cake. Not ideal. So those are tapped and ready. We're going to put those into our 350 degree oven and we'll see what comes out.
Now, because that batter is so thin, it's got so much liquid in it, it's gonna take a little bit longer than a cake normally does to bake. So let it sit in there for about 30 minutes, test the middle with a toothpick, it should come out clean. If it doesn't, you know, let it sit in there for another 10 minutes or so until it's done.
So this video is certainly not about the decorating process necessarily. So we're going to do this as just a simple decoration. We are going to literally put the icing on the cake and call it good.
Now this is just a real simple cream cheese frosting. So all you need is powdered sugar, obviously cream cheese, some softened butter, and some vanilla. So let's go ahead and just throw this together. You want to make sure that your cream cheese and your butter are really, really soft. Otherwise, it's going to be a bear to get this to mix together. And then we're just going to add a little splash of vanilla on top.
About a teaspoon and a half, maybe two tops. Just eyeball it.
And just to get it started, kind of break some of this up with the spatula. And then we'll get this going with the hand mixer.
No mess.
All right, here we go. And yeah, this is gonna make a mess when this first gets started. Just keep it on a real low speed until you start getting everything mixed together, and then you can crank it up and actually whip your frosting. All right, so that just takes a couple of minutes, and voila, cream cheese frosting.
It's been about 30 minutes. Our cakes look like they are done. We just tested them with a toothpick, poking in the top. When you pull the toothpick out, it should come out essentially clean. So we're going to take these out. We're going to put them on our cooling rack. We're going to let them cool for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then we'll flip them over and take them out of the pan to cool the rest of the way.
Looks like cake.
Well, that's something.
So our cakes have rested in the pans for just a bit to cool down, and we're going to go ahead, run a quick knife right around the edge just to make sure that they're not going to stick on the sides. And then we'll turn these out onto the cooling rack to let them finish cooling. And you can see with the parchment paper we put on there, they come right out of the pans.
Yahtzee. All right, so we're going to let these cool a little bit more before we decorate them. If you decorate them hot, all the frosting just melts off of them. Looks like something out of a horror movie. So make sure you let them cool all the way, and then we'll come back and we'll show you just a quick, easy way to put a little bit of frosting on this.
Eventually.
Our cakes have cooled for like maybe 15 minutes, and they're ready to take a little bit of icing. So if you think about these cakes, the bottom of both of these is flat and uniform and even. So we want to utilize that to our advantage. To do that, We are going to level these off a little bit. So Brian's going to go ahead and just kind of cut the tops off so that they're kind of level. And then we'll take them and put the top to the top with each other. So we have the flat side on the top and the flat side on the bottom. And then we'll ice the rest of our cake from there.
Now there's a bunch of different gadgets that you can use to level a cake. I just like to use a serrated bread knife and then just kind of eyeball it. Doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to take our frosting and fill the cake, and we can just kind of fill in all the little nooks and crannies that we need to with the frosting. Mention the fact that we do have some holes in our cake and some white spots because it didn't quite get mixed all the way.
Okay, so we do have a couple little holes and, you know, a little white spot where we didn't get some of the cocoa mixed all the way through the rest of the batter, but all of the holes, all those imperfections, those are just more places that we can put frosting, which isn't going to hurt anything, and you won't be able to see any of it on the outside. It'll look just wonderful. So now that we've got them kind of leveled, we are going to take our cake dish. We're going to take our first cake and just put it right in the middle.
So we're going to fill our cake with a nice big dollop of our cream cheese frosting. Now you can use like a butter knife for this. An offset spatula like this works perfectly. So then we're just going to take it and spread it around nice and thick. Doesn't have to be perfect. The first couple of times that you do this, it's probably going to be really messy. That's okay. You can clean it up later.
All right, so once we've got that, we're just going to take our second piece. Just like I said, we're going to take it, flip it so that the top goes onto the top. And we have the nice flat piece on the top of our cake. Just try and get them nice and lined up so that they look like one clean stack. Yeah, we're pretty close.
Yep, looks good. All right, so then I'm going to take just a little bit more of this just to kind of fill in the rest of that seam. Okay, so like Doug said, this isn't a cake decorating video. We're just throwing some frosting on this thing. So it's a little messy, but still gonna taste good. So I don't have quite enough frosting to frost all the way around the sides. So I'm just gonna take the rest of what's here and we're just gonna throw it right on top. There we go. Now you can get all artistic if you want, put swirls on it, whatever. We're just gonna leave it flat like this.
Our cake is all finished up and we are ready to go ahead and give this thing a try. Now, we put a lot of thought into this and we decided that with a cake like this, the way to go is just to put a little bit of butter on top of it and just eat it just like that.
No, that's the wrong one.
That's a different video. Sorry, never mind, not that. So we're just gonna go ahead and see what we've made here. Please.
Ma'am, that is why that is my favorite chocolate cake recipe. There's so much just deep, dark chocolate flavor.
And then the sharpness of that cream cheese frosting just to bring it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But no, it is super moist. The texture just, like, it's moist, but it also kind of falls apart when you chew it. I mean, this is not coming out of the box.
No.
There's no box you're going to buy that's going to even compete with this.
Right.
Absolutely worth the time.
Just in case it's something you're worried about, adding the coffee to that cake doesn't make this a mocha cake. You don't taste the coffee. All that does is it brings out some more of those deep chocolate notes. So it's such a rich chocolatey cake. It's fantastic.
This is one, it's absolutely worth your time to go ahead and put this together. This whole thing doesn't take that long. I mean, the longest part of this cake was letting it cool. Other than that, we just threw it together, piece of cake. No pun intended.
Right.
So that being said, hit us up. Let's see some better decorations in this. I'm sure you guys have some skills on that. Look for that video later on. Show us what you can do. Try this out. Let us know what you think of this recipe. And until the next time around, skip the shortcuts.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.